Government doesn't want you to know about this website. Black Vault is a compilation of every declassified government document that you don't know how to search for. The site includes documentation of real battles we have had with UFOs, as well as real secret military projects.
Today we're looking at TikToks that expose government secrets.
Did you know that 10 days after the September 11th attacks, a man in Lower Manhattan started receiving voicemails from a phone that was buried under the rubble of the North Tower? His name was Aaron Keller.
Thank you to all the channel members for support. If you guys are seeing this video, go ahead and like it. We're on our road to 100K, so if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure to smash that subscribe button. Let's go.
I want you to know about this website. Black Vault is a compilation of every declassified government document that you don't know how to search for. The site includes documentation of real battles we have had with UFOs, as well as real secret military projects. Before this site was a thing, the public didn't really look at these documents. The thing is, you are able to request documents from the government. There's a thing called the Freedom of Information Act, but you have to know what to request. And the person who runs this site, his name is John Greenwald, he knows what to request. So based on all of the documents on this website, which are very real, you can double check if you don't believe me. We know for a fact aliens do exist. The site also has JFK's assassination and more information on that. But like all of the documents on the site were once kept secret, and the website doesn't try to tell you what they mean or interpret them. They're just there for you to read. Some of this information is just really interesting to go through and read. This isn't a hidden website, it's open to the public. There's like a whole thing on the White House dog, and there was a big scandal. This video I made has a ton of information about it. The channel is the same name as my username here.
37% of teenage girls between 13 and 15 were exposed to unwanted nudity in a week on Instagram. You knew about it. Who did you fire? I'm not going to answer that. You didn't fire anybody. You didn't take any significant action. It's appropriate to talk about. It's not appropriate. Do you know who's sitting behind you? You've got families from across the nation whose children are either severely harmed or gone. And you don't think it's appropriate to talk about steps that you took? Have you apologized to the victims? Would you like to do so now? Well, they're here. You're on national television. Would you like now to apologize to the victims who have been harmed by your product? Show them the pictures. Would you like to apologize for what you've done to these good people?
At Area 51, when did things get weird? Like, at what point in time did you say, hey, this doesn't even seem like it's from this planet?
In the demonstration of the reactor working, where it caught my attention, this is technology that doesn't even exist.
What was it technologically?
This was a small reactor about the size of a basketball on a metal plate, and when it was running, it produced a gravitational field of its own. Now, this is something that we can't do. We can't produce any gravity. The only way we get gravity is from large quantities of mass. But there's no machine we can have that turns on that makes gravity. Anyway, this device was producing that, and Barry said, almost like he was bragging, go ahead, try and touch the sphere, and I couldn't. It pushed my hands away, just like two like poles of a magnet.
You used to work.
Did you know that there's 3 things that will be revealed after our deaths that exist now?
What do you mean?
What?
There is a letter from Queen Elizabeth written to the mayor of Sydney, and she says, please don't open this letter until 2085. And it's like hidden it's being held in a like secret vault in Sydney, Australia.
Interesting.
Wow.
It was signed Elizabeth. Is it going to be revealed like something big? But then there's a movie called 100 Years, the movie you'll never see.
Oh.
But it's starring John Malkovich, and it's to be released in theaters or to the public in 2115.
Wow.
They filmed it in 2015, and no one will see it until 100 years goes by.
Lame.
What if they know exactly what happens to us and they just made it?
What if John Malkovich is a time traveler?
Weird.
And then the last thing, which was super weird, Jackie Kennedy's bloody pink suit, the suit that she was wearing when JFK was shot, it's been held in a vault, secret. Like no one's allowed to see it. And they said they will release it to the public October 26, 2103.
Weird. Why? Why?
Alien blood.
Don't know.
Why so late? Like by then I doubt anyone would really care, because it would be passed down through so many generations. But that 100-year movie, I feel like it's going to be such outdated technology that if it doesn't have a specific message, it's going to get no traction.
They've been keeping this from you. This is the underground city that was found beneath Los Angeles by a man named Warren Schufelt. It was discovered using a device he invented to detect underground tunnels and caverns. Schufelt mapped out a network of passageways stretching for miles beneath the city. And here is where it gets crazy. His maps indicated a central chamber filled with gold and advanced artifacts. Schufelt said that upon analysis of the artifacts and the scriptures found within the passageways, they all pointed to a lost continent named Lemuria. Despite his groundbreaking findings, city officials abruptly shut down his excavation. They officially claimed that the tunnels were old subway lines. But this is where they messed up. The Los Angeles subway system didn't begin operation until 1990, over 70 years after Schufelt's discovery. So what subway lines were they referring to? Some speculate that they were referring to an ancient civilization that had access to a subway-like system. Some have even gone further to say that the city officials had knowledge from the future. They knew that Los Angeles would eventually have a running subway system in the years to come. Therefore, it would be the perfect cover-up, perfectly concealing its true origins.
Are there aliens at Area 51?
You know, I'll tell you, it's a funny thing, because I think that might be a question that I get more than any question. It is the craziest thing. So we have that so-called area. They consider it like a sacred area. Mm-hmm. And I will say this. I don't think I'm a believer, but I've interviewed pilots that look, I like Tom Cruise, but better than Tom Cruise. The blonde crew cuts, the whole, and this, yes, sir. And they were in the Oval Office, 3 or 4 pilots. These are not people that make up stories. These are, they said, all I know, sir, is there was a round object that was going 4 times faster than my F-22, which is a very fast plane. And it wasn't, you know, it shouldn't have been. It was round, sir. They have seen, I mean, 4 or 5 guys I've interviewed, solid people, great pilots for the U.S. Air Force, etc. They've seen things that they cannot explain.
Follow-up question.
A part of me feels like he really knows the answer, but he's just always trying to like wiggle his way around it, because he used like the same exact script that he basically used for Joe Rogan to these like news reporters. It's actually funny.
Whoa. Uh-oh, we got things happening.
There's stuff over here.
Yeah.
See your hands. You see your hands. Let me see your hands. Put your hands up. Put your hands up. I'm not going to tell you again. Turn around. You got anything on you? Nope.
No, sir.
I got a knife over here. Huh? Any weapons? Spread your feet. Spread your feet. She's going all the way out here.
We're just adventure travelers. We're just adventure travelers.
Just adventure travelers?
Yeah.
Oh, turn around. They're down little alien. They said, come up to Stewart Well Road.
Yeah.
That's what everybody else does. Yeah, that's what everybody does. We're going to give you guys a chance, okay? Get on your bikes, get the f*** out of here. We'll call Lincoln County, and they'll write you each a $750 ticket.
Okay.
You're out of here. Thank you.
Right. Sorry for the hassle, guys. We're just travelers. My bad. All right, let's do it. I got you. Are you ready? Oh my God! That was the most gnarly thing I'd ever been in.
You know, these are the people who knew too much and were silenced. Michael Jackson, 25th of June, 2009. It's said that Michael uncovered secrets about a dark network involving high-ranking politicians and minors. The official version states he died from an overdose while trying to sleep that night. But how credible is that explanation? Barnaby Jack, 25th of July, 2013. This famous hacker shocked the world when, during a conference, he demonstrated how some could manipulate pacemakers to cause clean, undetectable deaths. Just days later, Barnaby was found dead in his apartment. A simple coincidence, or was he silenced for what he knew? Daphne Caruana Galizia, 16th of October, 2017. This investigative journalist exposed secrets about the elites and the controversial Panama Papers. Her research placed her in direct conflict with powerful figures. Shortly afterwards, a bomb in her car ended her life. Is it really just a coincidence that all these people met such fates, or did they uncover something they were never meant to know? But what do you think, Comet Silence? If you want me to keep exposing the hidden truth...
We're the only species on this planet that sunburns this easily. Let that sink in. Birds, covered in UV-blocking feathers, reptiles, scales, natural armor, whales and dolphins, specialized skin cells that literally repair damage from the sun. Even apes, our supposed ancestors, have thick fur shielding them. But us? Step outside too long and the sun cooks us alive. Why would evolution do that? Enter Dr. Ellis Silver, environmental scientist, not some internet crackpot. He proposes something that flips the whole Darwinian script on its head. Humans might not have evolved on Earth. Let me say that again. We're not from here. We were placed here. Because if you take a step back and look objectively, our biology doesn't fit this planet. We overheat easily. We suffer from chronic pain, allergies, anxiety. We need shoes to walk, umbrellas to survive sunlight. And our babies? Practically useless for the first year. There's not another species on Earth this fragile and high maintenance. This planet is a survival machine. Everything adapts, everything evolves, except us. So Dr. Silver asks, what if we were engineered? A hybrid species brought here from somewhere else? Maybe a failed experiment, maybe a colony, maybe even punishment. We don't know, but our skin, our bones, our biology, they're all whispering the same thing. You might feel human, but this place was never made for you, or maybe you were never made for this place.
I kind of agree with that theory. I feel like even though our close relatives are like monkeys and gorillas and stuff like that, I still feel like to a sense there's such difference. So I feel like to other animals, we are probably the aliens of this planet.
Today I learned that the US government carved out a secret underground city that they can flee to in case nuclear war breaks out. Raven Rock, like Area 51, is one of the government's most classified projects, titled Continuity of Government, or Project COG. And one individual who worked down there for 3.5 years for the first time ever spoke on camera, describing to Vice what it's like down there. Located 768 feet below ground, it can withstand a direct nuclear hit, is protected by not only one but two 3.5-foot thick doors, weighing 30 tons each, and is built on top of springs to survive the shockwaves of a nuclear blast. He describes how there are 5 separate 3-story buildings, and of the 15 floors in total, each are big enough to hold 50 to 80 offices. It's described as an underground city because they have a cafeteria, barbershop, massive water reservoirs, generators, a crematorium, post office, medical facilities, and a command center capable of operating a nuclear war front. And although this was created for the threat that never arrived in the 1950s, in 2023, some spring cleaning may be in order.
Several ABC Digital. Wanted to give you the opportunity to swear on the Bible that you walked on the moon. Will you put your left hand on the Bible and swear to God that you walked on the moon?
Gentlemen. Mr. Seibel.
Yes? If you really walked on the moon, why would you not do that? So why don't you just put the into the record in the argument and put your hand on the Bible, swear to God you walked on the moon.
Mr. Seibel, knowing you, that's probably a fake Bible.
Really? Well, no, it's a real Bible. You have the opportunity to have $5,000.
The meeting is not open.
Well, you have $5,000 cash. You can give it to charity if you swear on the Bible that you walked on the moon.
Please
I have
give
the
it to
tape.
charity. That'd be fine.
Why don't you swear to? Why not? Why won't you do it? So why don't you put your hand on the Bible and swear to God that you walked on the moon?
Mr. Seibel has made a fool of himself in front of the world. Mr. Seibel, you do not deserve answers.
If you hop in a fridge during a nuclear explosion, some people think it can actually save you from the blast. But is this actually true? Well, a fridge might actually offer some minimal protection from the initial heat and radiation. But if you're anywhere even remotely close to the explosion, the force of the blast would be too powerful. The fridge would likely be thrown violently, causing serious injury or worse.
What were some of the things that were in the top?
People who the government ordered to silence. Mark Smith studied Alzheimer's and seemed to have found a cure, but one day he was found deceased. Yoram Kaufman. Scientists who worked with him said he discovered water on Mars. One day it disappeared. People who the government ordered to silence. Drive Sebi found a cure for all diseases and was suddenly found deceased in police custody. Yoram Kaufman discovered water on Mars and was found deceased.
Have you ever heard of Lockheed Martin?
No.
So Lockheed Martin is the main manufacturer for missiles, weapons in America. They are the company that gives the government all our weapons.
Okay.
They're supposedly saying that Lockheed Martin has like a special group where they go out and retrieve crashed UFOs. And what they do is they'll take it and then they re-engineer it to make their own What's also crazy is that the government don't know about it because they're afraid that if the government takes it,
start running it up.
So what they do is they keep it secret from the government. So they have their own military division, all that goes out and retrieves this stuff. And they also retrieve their own hovercrafts that they might have crashed. So imagine the best company that makes our weapons, what type of resources they have and what are they cooking up in that.
They're like always 30 years ahead of us.
Yeah, at least 30
My
years
brother
ahead.
was telling me because he was in the Air Force. He was like, their masks that they put on in the aircraft since like 2007. Like when you're in the cockpit, it's a clear window, but when it goes in now, all the lines and all the stuff you see in games and stuff.
Yeah.
So you're not seeing the handle.
Really?
Yeah, when they're in jets. And that's why the jets cost so much money, is because of the technology in it. And
That's
that's also
crazy.
why whenever they crash a jet and stuff, they're supposed to destroy.
Because they don't want the people getting
the
that technology.
Yeah, exactly. And re-engineering.
Most Americans don't know about the land in the United States that was absolutely destroyed in California when they were testing nuclear bombs. It turns out this nuclear wasteland was once covered up by the government to seem like a luxury vacation spot for Hollywood's elite. A massive body of water was formed in 1905, known as the Salton Sea, when the Colorado River overflowed. Since a massive lake like this in the desert was hard to come by, a resort destination opened on the lake called Bombay Beach, which became an extremely popular spot for Hollywood's elite. There was very good fishing, many restaurants, marinas for boats, and everything you could wish for in a luxury lakeside town, but the good times could only last for so long. 15 years after Bombay Beach was formed, the US started testing nuclear bombs outside of this area during World War II, emitting many toxic particles onto the land. When it rained, these toxins would run off into the Salton Sea, contaminating the water. At first, nobody really noticed, nor did anyone even know that nukes were being tested around the area. But all of a sudden, massive herds of dead fish started washing up on shore. This became alarming to scientists. Studies were done on the water, where they found increasingly large amounts of salinity and nuclear toxins. At first, the US tried to play it off like everything was still fine at the Salton Sea, but then birds started dying all over the region from eating toxic fish, and many residents even said they could smell the chemicals in the air. Bombay Beach eventually became abandoned in the 1970s, once the water became so bad. Today, the lake is drying, which is making things even worse. When the wind comes through, it kicks all the toxins up into the air, infecting the nearby towns.
Beneath New York would be a miniature version of the city. Air shafts would stretch up to the surface, pulling in fresh air, and a power grid hidden under the streets would keep it running. This could be used for extra housing once the city above ran out of space. But blasting out a hole this huge would be almost impossible, and even if we could, New York City would soon collapse into it, meaning the idea never took off.
Underground cities. Former Bush administration official Catherine Fitz. She was just on Tucker Carlson's podcast, and she did this really deep dive. Basically, they uncovered of what they know of. There are 170 underground cities under the entirety of the U.S. and in the ocean that the U.S. has been building since 1988. With a total of what they found, they've spent over $21 trillion on underground systems and cities. They said that they use an energy source or energy technologies that the public has never been allowed to see. And it's all for the purpose of a potential extinction level event. You know, like for years now, people are like, what's that sound of it sounds like trumpets in the air and stuff. They're actively drilling under the entire U.S. And that's what I think the sounds are. It's just literally the earth just shifting underneath their feet. That's creating this noise of these trumpet-like sounds.
Why wouldn't they do it? They have the money, they have the resources, they have the land.
But then here's the question, who's surviving?
Yeah.
Who's on these
And
lists?
that's the thing. When this stuff gets out, if this thing were to be leaked, which it already has, people realize that. I mean, what are we going to do? We're not going to be on that list. People are going to lose their minds.
Pressure, though, of having to make a decision for your family. They're like, let's just say it was like, you can come if you want. And it's like, you have to make a decision. We're telling you it's going to happen in like 30 days. Are you going to come with us or not? And you actually have to make that call.
Ladies and gentlemen, America's enemies have just crossed the line. Iran's supreme leader, the Ayatollah himself, crawled out of hiding for the first time since our bunker busters smashed his precious nuclear sites. And what does he do? He goes on state TV, voice cracking, eyes are sunken in, and he threatens you. He threatens your city. He threatens your family right now. tonight, today, whenever you happen to be watching this video, guys, he says sleeper cells are here. He says revenge is coming for what President Trump just did to Iran's secret nuclear bunkers. And you know what President Trump said back? I'll tell you, he didn't flinch for a second, guys. He looked the world in the eye and he said, one more move and Iran is gone. No maybe, no we'll think about it, gone. But that's just the surface. Today, I'm going to go ahead and show you guys exactly what the Ayatollah's threat really means for you, for your family. The FBI is warning about sleeper cells on American soil, the ICE raids that just went down, and of course, the hidden sabotage that's shattered Iran's nuclear dreams when they expected it the least. So check this out. I'm also going to break down how President Trump's next move is already locked and loaded and waiting, because if Iran blinks wrong, the next bombers are in the sky before breakfast. Now, stick with me, guys, because what you're about to hear, it's not on cable news. It is the truth that they want buried while this White House locks down every leak and every threat. This is how America stays safe, guys, and this is how you stay one step ahead. So grab your coffee. Some of you guys don't drink coffee, I know. Grab your tea, get your matcha. Hit the like button so that more patriots can see this. And of course, if you want more content like this, be sure to subscribe. Because if the Ayatollah dares strike again, it's not just his nukes that will disappear. It's his entire regime. So let's go ahead and get into this. Oh, and by the way, Paulette Diener, she's been fighting Medicare issues for over a year, trying to help her son. Nobody listened. Nobody cared up until she called Chapter. They helped us. This is what she said directly. She said they helped us communicate with Medicare, fix the issue, and save money. It was a blessing. Thank you, Ron. Meanwhile, Catherine Garcia, she made the call after months of confusion and bills piling up. She said Chapter was compassionate, helpful, and I finally talked to a real person. Now, everything is paid for. I owe nothing.
Can you survive a nuclear explosion? The truth? Yes, but only if you understand what you're facing. When a nuclear bomb detonates, it doesn't give you time. It gives you seconds, a blinding flash, then a shockwave faster than sound, strong enough to shatter bones and level entire cities. If you're within the blast radius, there is no survival. But if you're farther out, even just a few kilometers, your life may depend on what you do in the next 10 seconds. Don't look at the flash. It can blind you instantly. Drop flat, cover your head, mouth open. It sounds simple, but it could buy you your first few breaths. Then comes the fallout. This is where most people die, not from the bomb, but from what it leaves behind. Your survival depends on one word: shelter. Stay inside for at least 48 hours, longer if you can. Water, canned food, sealed windows, no outside air. You can't stop the bomb, but you can outlive it. Because when the sky lights up and the world goes silent, the difference between death and survival may come down to one decision made fast.
The U.S. government once planned to bomb its own cities just to start a war, and it's all in a declassified document you were never supposed to see. In the 1960s, America wanted to invade Cuba, but they needed a reason the public would support. So top generals proposed a terrifying plan. They suggested staging a fake plane hijacking, blowing up a U.S. ship, even faking funerals for fake victims. This wasn't a movie plot. These were real military leaders, and the plan made it to the desk of President John F. Kennedy. JFK said no. He shut it down, and months later, he was assassinated.
Look, buddy, there are underground suburbs just to run a massive experiment on humans.
What? Like secret bunkers?
No, not bunkers. Actual towns controlled by a covert agency. And the people living there, they have no idea what they're part of.
That makes no sense.
They were taken as kids from orphanages, adopted by undercover agents, too young to remember anything real.
Why? And what type of sci-fi crap are you on?
Buddy, just believe me, okay? It's an experiment. Every night, the artificial sky goes dark, and they release predators into the towns.
Predators?
Not animals, bioengineered hybrids. Fast, brutal, smart, designed to test how people react under pure terror.
That's insane.
The people have adapted. Some hide, some hunt back. They think it's just life. They don't know they're lab rats in a nightmare disguised as a neighborhood.
Why are you telling me this?
Because one of those towns is breaking down, and I'm going in. For entertainment purpose only.
If the government really did an experiment like that, and that's all people knew, it'd be such a sinister world.
Did you know that 10 days after the September 11th attacks, a man in Lower Manhattan started receiving voicemails from a phone that was buried under the rubble of the North Tower? His name was Aaron Keller, a former firefighter who lived just 5 blocks from Ground Zero. On the night of September 21st, his landline rang, static. Then a woman's voice whispering, "It's not over." The number traced back to a missing office worker, Denise Halpern, last seen on the 89th floor. Aaron thought it was a cruel prank until more messages came. Different voices, some crying, others whispering strange strings of numbers, names, and phrases like "the glass is cracking" or "they see us." He reported it to the police. Nothing. Phone company claimed the line was disconnected. Aaron recorded 17 voicemails over 2 weeks. Then on October 5th, the call stopped. The last message simply said, "They found the elevator. Don't let them open it." Aaron never spoke publicly about it again, but years later, a sealed elevator shaft was discovered during reconstruction, never shown in news reports, and the workers who found it were transferred, silenced, or vanished from public record. So, what did Aaron really hear, and what was waiting in that elevator?
All right, what's the deal with all these videos popping up claiming that allegedly in parts of Georgia and South Carolina, people had their TV broadcasts interrupted for about 3 minutes? This happened just in the last couple of days. And during that time, a message supposedly from the Anunnaki aired, acknowledging the current chaos among humans, warning of severe weather events coming, and then saying that they were going to help. And then, right after that, people in these same areas reported seeing fireballs streaking across the sky, like multiple reports. So, yes, this sounds completely crazy, and I am skeptical, but I'm also open-minded enough to ask. There actually was a TV broadcast interruption in southern England in 1977 where a group claimed to be Ashtar Galactic Command, and they talked about human awakening. So, I'm being open-minded. Was it something like that? Has anyone seen this alleged Anunnaki broadcast firsthand? Do you have video of it or know someone who does? Drop any links, videos, or stories in the comments. I'm actually very curious.
Did this guy just build a machine that generates infinite energy in his own garage? No, that's impossible, according to the first and second law of thermodynamics. Remember, the greatest innovations are made by those who dare question the facts. Well, that's just misinformation. This free energy wheel uses bottles whose water is continually poured down by gravity to endlessly spin the wheel. And this isn't the first time someone came up with this. In 1159 AD, an Indian mathematician named Bhaskara the Learned came up with a concept for this exact design, Bhaskara's wheel. It had curved reservoirs filled with mercury instead of water, but based on the same principle. He reasoned that as the wheel spun, the displacement of mercury would flow to the bottom of each reservoir in such a way that one side of the wheel would be perpetually heavier than the other, the imbalance causing it to spin forever. This is one of the first ever designs for a perpetual motion engine, a device that can do some sort of work forever without external energy applied, like a windmill producing its own breeze, or a light bulb powering its own solar panels, a magnet attached to a car pulling itself, or this man pushing a truck from inside the trunk. I think you can see why this wouldn't work. The physics behind it show that the moving parts that make one side of the wheel heavier also shifts the center of mass of the wheel downwards. What that means is it'll spin for a bit and then just swing back and forth until coming to a complete stop in practice. The reason it can't go on forever is due to the first 2 laws of thermodynamics. The first law is energy conservation. Energy can't be created or destroyed. And in a perfect world, if we can just put 100% of the energy a device produces back into running itself, this should be possible, right? That's where the second law stops us, entropy, which states that energy tends to spread out and dissipate in many different forms like waste, friction, or heat as time goes on. So as the wheel moves through gravitational force, it experiences air resistance, friction, and waste heat, energy that is not put back into the gravitational force that is running the wheel and hence dissipates over time. It's why Newton's cradle doesn't go on forever, and why this wheel doesn't work. He even admits in his video that he had a battery in the wheel that kept it spinning. It's fake. But are there other designs for infinite energy engines out there that have been suppressed from the public? Inventors have tried over the generations to come up with the perfect perpetual motion machine, several variations of the original wheel, and even other creative ideas. And some of them actually kind of work. The first one ever made predates even Bhaskara, with Greek mathematician Archimedes in 200 BC, who discovered the displacement of water in his bathtub as he went inside it, allegedly inventing the word eureka at the same time. Obvious today, but this was a huge discovery back then. The Archimedes principle, which they tried to use to build the first ever perpetual motion engine in history. The Archimedes sphere was a round chamber with water and a buoyant ball attached to a metal rod inside. The metal rod drags the ball down down and the ball pushes itself out of the water from buoyancy. I won't bore you with the math, but the calculations show that you could just spin this once and it'll go on forever due to Archimedes' principle. And in theory, it should, if it wasn't for pesky friction of the water on the glass and the waste heat of the spinning rod getting in the way. That leave the device as waste energy until it comes to a complete stop. But science didn't give up. We're gonna find a way to make this perpetual motion engine if it's the last thing we do. Like everyone's favorite mad scientist Nikola Tesla, who actually patented an unlimited energy machine in 1901 called the apparatus for the utilization of radiant energy, made from an antenna that you can make from plywood, a sheet of foil, copper wires, and a capacitor to store the energy. The antenna should be placed up high, like on a roof, connected to the capacitor and grounded. The capacitor should charge up slowly from the luminiferous ether, electromagnetic waves from solar radiation, cosmic rays, and Earth's magnetic poles. And it works, confirmed by many tests done online. It technically uses external energy to power itself, so not exactly perpetual, but did we just solve our world's energy crisis? Yeah, but you'd need a whole day of power just to charge your phone with an antenna the size of a football field. So not practical whatsoever, as we'd run out of space fast, but still cool, we're making progress. More recently, in 2021, German scientists demonstrated the use of what they called time crystals, a microscopic system of quantum particles that change state over time and can in fact theoretically go on like this forever. They don't generate energy, but also don't lose any either from expected friction or heat, which is huge for an object doing work. The main obstacle to perpetual motion were systems losing energy when doing work over time. This doesn't. They're still figuring it out, but oh, we're so close. We're gonna make this infinite energy machine, I tell ya. Because there's something in nature that actually does appear to violate the conservation of energy: black holes. This scientific paper states that the expansion of the universe can make certain black holes expand faster than the Hawking radiation they produce that shrinks them. I know, it took me a while to wrap my head around that. In theory, this process gains more energy than it loses, so if we could just take a black hole and stick it into an engine, that might work. Who knows, maybe we'll find new exotic forms of matter in the future that could bend the rules of perpetual motion to finally crack the code. Or maybe we already have. Enter zero-point energy, the suspected technology behind UFOs that provides seemingly unlimited energy, moves objects outside the realm of known physics, travels faster than light, and even through time. Powered by quantum fluctuations in space-time, particles that act like waves which blink in and out of existence, another highly suppressed field of research. Keyword here, quantum, because quantum can bend the laws of thermodynamics while still respecting them and doesn't need to obey classical physics. I'll go into this very soon, because zero-point energy isn't just game-changing, it's reality-changing.
Yeah, it's crazy. I've heard that like Nikola Tesla was also trying to have everyone have free energy, like free electricity.
Thank you all for watching.